Imagine being so infamous that decades later people still whisper your name like it's a cursed artifact. Netflix specials, Halloween costumes, edgy usernames, documentaries with ominous music. From the outside, it looks like dark celebrity. The kind where people think, wow, this guy really left a mark. Now here's the flip. That mark is a lifetime of misery, paranoia, isolation, and a slow-motion collapse where literally nothing about your existence is rewarding, impressive, or cool. Being Jeffrey Dahmer doesn't make you powerful. It makes you trapped in a personal horror movie where you're both the monster and the victim. And there's no exit door. Because once you strip away the myth, the mystery, the shock value, what you're left with is a deeply broken human being whose entire life was a long, uncomfortable descent into loneliness, fear, and consequences he couldn't escape.
So let's talk about why it actually sucked to be Jeffrey Dahmer.
At a distance, people reduce him to a label. Serial killer, cannibal, cultural boogeyman. That distance makes it easy to romanticize. People imagine confidence, control, intelligence, some kind of twisted genius. They imagine someone who knew exactly what he was doing, and enjoyed every second of it. Reality check. Jeffrey Dahmer wasn't some criminal mastermind living a thrilling double life. He was an alcoholic loner with severe psychological issues, living in constant fear of being discovered, abandoned, or losing control. From early on, his life wasn't a slow burn toward fame. It was a slow leak. He struggled socially as a kid, couldn't connect with people, and increasingly retreated into his own head. He drank. A lot. Not party drinking. Not bad habit drinking. More like, I cannot function without being intoxicated. Drinking. His life wasn't edgy or exciting. It was numb, repetitive, and empty. People think notoriety equals power. But power requires control. And Dahmer had almost none. Now imagine waking up every day in a body that feels like a problem. He wasn't physically imposing. He wasn't charismatic. He wasn't socially skilled. He didn't blend in because he was clever. He blended in because people barely noticed him. He lived in cheap apartments that smelled bad, were poorly maintained, and isolated him from any real sense of community. Not because he wanted some villain-lair aesthetic, but because that was as good as his life ever got. There's this popular idea that being dangerous means being fearless. In reality, it's the opposite. His entire existence revolved around anxiety. Anxiety about being rejected. Anxiety about being alone. Anxiety about losing the fragile control he thought he had over his world. Imagine living every day knowing that if someone looked too closely, really closely, your entire life would instantly collapse. That's not thrilling. That's exhausting. And the environment? Miserable. Cramped spaces, poor hygiene, constant intoxication. No comfort. No stability. No future plans. Just survival mode, stretched out over years. And mentally? That's where it gets worse. Dahmer wasn't calm. He wasn't confident. He wasn't even particularly driven. He was compulsive. And that difference matters. Compulsion isn't power. It's being dragged by your own brain while knowing you can't stop. He was deeply aware that something was wrong with him. That awareness didn't come with solutions. It came with shame, confusion, and fear. Imagine realizing your thoughts aren't normal. Knowing they isolate you from everyone else. And having absolutely no idea how to fix that without exposing yourself. That's not villain confidence. That's psychological quicksand. He tried to suppress his urges with alcohol. That worked about as well as putting a bandage on a collapsing building. Alcohol didn't make him functional. It made him less inhibited, more unstable, and more reckless. So now add addiction. On top of severe mental illness. He wasn't enjoying his life. He was barely enduring it. And socially? Forget it. There's this weird assumption that infamous people are secretly admired in their own time. Dahmer wasn't admired. He was ignored. He had trouble maintaining relationships. He was awkward, withdrawn, emotionally unavailable. People didn't gravitate toward him. They drifted away. Imagine wanting connection so badly that it becomes obsession. But being fundamentally incapable of forming healthy bonds. Every interaction is strained. Every relationship feels temporary. Every moment of closeness comes with the fear that it will disappear. Now here's the cruel irony. The more isolated he became, the more his inner world consumed him, which made him more isolated. It's a feedback loop from hell. And somehow, it still gets worse. Because even if you ignore morality, psychology, and humanity for a moment, purely from a survival perspective, his life was a terrible strategy. Every decision narrowed his future. Every action increased the odds of catastrophic consequences. He wasn't building anything. He wasn't gaining anything. He was burning bridges that didn't even exist yet. Living like that means constant vigilance. Listening for sounds. Watching for signs. Running scenarios in your head. What if someone notices? What if someone remembers? What if today is the day everything ends? How long do you think a human nervous system can survive like that? And then there's the myth. The biggest one. People think the good part was control. Power over others. The idea that he was finally important, finally dominant, finally not invisible. But that's a lie his brain told him. Because real power doesn't destroy you from the inside out. Real control doesn't require secrecy, intoxication, and isolation. What he experienced wasn't empowerment. It was dependency. He depended on silence. On chance. On people not looking too closely. One wrong variable. And everything fell apart. Which is exactly what happened. The supposed benefit of notoriety? Completely useless. Fame arrived only after his life was effectively over. And it didn't bring admiration. It brought universal revulsion. You don't get legacy. You get a cautionary tale. You don't get understanding. You get reduced to headlines and horror trivia. And prison? That's the final punchline. Strip away the mystique and imagine the reality. A controlled environment. No alcohol. No privacy. No autonomy. Surrounded by people who either despise you, fear you, or see you as a target. Every day is routine. Every interaction is tense. Every moment reminds you. This is how your story ends. And here's a question worth sitting with. What's worse, being forgotten? Or being remembered only as a monster? Because that's the final escalation. A childhood marked by disconnection. An adulthood defined by addiction and fear. A life spent running from your own mind. And an ending that offers no redemption, no relief, no meaning. No dramatic downfall. Just containment. Silence. And time. So yeah, from the outside, it looks darkly fascinating. From the inside? It's a life where nothing works, nothing heals, and nothing gets better. No wins. No payoff. Just damage, layered on top of damage, until there's nothing left but a name people mention with a shiver. And if there's one thing that truly sucked about being Jeffrey Dahmer, it's this. For all the attention, all the infamy, all the shock, he never actually mattered. In any way that counts. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.